Hey, I'd like to ask about like routines and rituals.
Sure.
I aspire to be a writer. I think it's a very romantic thing to do, but I can't do it for the life of me. Do you have any routines or rituals when you write?
Yes, actually, I do. It's
Love
weird. I can't. It's hard for me to write. Like my wife is a writer. My wife, Monica Holloway, is an excellent writer. She writes books.
Oh.
So she's written 2 excellent memoirs. One called Driving with Dead People, still available on Amazon, and one called Cowboy and Wills, also available on Amazon. But she likes to write in like absolute silence. Like she'll go to a very quiet place, so she'll stay home and write, and she can't have any noise.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite of that. Like I like to be in a big crowded place. Like
Really?
I'll take my script, or now that I have an iPad that I can write on with like that Apple Pencil, I'll take it out somewhere where it's very noisy. Like I'll go to a big public place. Like I'll go to like the food court at the mall, or what I also like to do is I'll go to the movies. Like I'll have my script or what I'm working on either on like a piece of paper or on my iPad, and I will go to like the AMC 15, in Century City or one of those places, or maybe the ArcLight. It's harder to do at the ArcLight. It's better to do at one of those multiplexes where it's not ArcLight style.
Okay.
Or like at the Grove, like whatever the thing at the Grove is,
That's a good
28 movies.
Yeah.
Or in Glendale, Americana. Anyway, and I'll buy a ticket for whatever. If let's say I have 4 or 5 hours to kill, and I'll buy a ticket for whatever movie starting at like 2 p.m, right? I'll buy that ticket. I'll get popcorn. I'll go and I'll sit in the theater. Hopefully, it's like a half an hour or so before the movie starts, right? And like they're just playing all those commercials and everything.
Yeah.
And I'll pick up my script, and that's why the iPad works, because I have a light up screen, and I'll write, work.
Really?
Yeah. And then I know I'll have a half an hour. I have a set amount of time, a half an hour. Right, and I can really focus on what I got to do, and then the trailers start, which I love movie trailers almost more than movies themselves. So, and if you go to AMC, you'll see like 17 trailers. Right, it's insane how many trailers they show.
Yeah,
but I love them all. So then I'll watch all the trailers, right, and then the movie starts, and I walk out. So people must think like, who is this crazy guy that like watches the trailers and leaves? I'll walk out, and I'll just find like that's why it's good to go to one of those multiplexes. I'll just find the next one that's like starting like 20 minutes from there, and I'll do the same thing again.
What?
And yeah, it's great. It's the greatest thing ever.
And you can focus during that enough to write what you need to write.
I do it like half an hour chunks or 25-minute chunks, and then I'll work, and I can see like it's almost time for the movie to start. Like it's a 2:45 movie. It's now 2:15. Okay, I have a half an hour. I'll work, and then I get a reward, which I get to watch trailers, and then I'll do it again and again and again. And if I have a whole day, like sometimes if it's a whole day that I have, then I'll pay myself off. By the end of the day, I'll have done like 3 or 4 of these, or of these half-hour sessions, and then I'll actually see a movie that I really want to see. And then I get to pay off the movie.
Not the one you paid for.
No,
just some random one.
It'll be whatever.
Wait,
so.
I gotta ask, how did you find this style of writing? Was it just you got to a movie early once and was like, well I should write something?
You this. I used to live in New York long ago, long before I moved out here, and I lived in an apartment in New York that had no air conditioning, and it was on the Upper West Side, and it was the summer of like I want to say 1989 or 90.
Oh, I remember that summer fondly.
It was so hot in New York City. And so I would go to the movies, and there was a movie theater not too far from where I lived, and I did this twice that summer because it was sweltering hot. I didn't have air conditioning, and I bought a ticket for a movie, and I just bought a big thing of popcorn, and I stayed in the air-conditioned
That's hilarious.
multiplex for all day. So I felt like by then I wasn't really writing on it. I was writing sketches. I was working with a sketch comedy group then. So I was working a little bit, but it was mostly just a chance to like stay cool and see movies. So I saw like 5 movies in a day. So I can remember all the movies I saw in that summer. One of them was Doc Hollywood with Michael J. Fox. One of them was Lawnmower Man. I can't remember if this is the exact same day, but in those 2 days, one of them was Doc Hollywood. One of them was Lawnmower Man with what's that guy's name? It was Pierce Brosnan and that guy who's in every B movie. Oh, shoot, I'll have to look it up. Anyway, it was insane. That's a really crazy movie. That's sort of the beginning of virtual reality. It's about virtual reality with like early CGI. Doc Hollywood, The Fisher King with Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges. One called Body Parts, which was a horror movie called Body Parts, and then somewhere in there was like Terminator 2 or something like that. Turned out like, oh, now I'll watch the real movie I want to see, which is Terminator 2.
That's
so it was like around
hilarious.
89 or 90.
So you've been doing this for 30 years,
Yeah,
right?
basically on and off. Basically
That's
on and off,
fascinating.
Yeah.
Did you, sidebar to throw a little trivia at you, did you know air conditioning is the reason the summer blockbuster became such a big thing?
Oh, interesting.
Because when air conditioning came out, not a lot of places could afford it, but
Right.
movie theaters could.
Right.
And that's how summer blockbusters became a thing.
Oh,
People
that's-
would go there to get into the air conditioning.
There you go.
Fun fact.
So I know all kinds of. I know a lot of friends, writer friends of mine who have other weird rituals.
Yeah.
Like I know a guy who he likes to take the train. Like he'll go to like Amtrak. I love Amtrak too because my son is a big train fanatic. So he'll go and like buy a ticket from L.A. to San Diego, which is like a 3-hour Amtrak ride.
Sure.
And then like ride on the train, and then
Oh, wow.
ride on the train down, and then go to San Diego and have lunch or whatever, and then
I
come
like
back.
that.
And that's 6 hours.
That's fun.
I know a guy who will go to Disneyland and he'll bring his script or whatever with him, and he'll just stand online like an hour at a time to get on whatever ride, Pirates of the Caribbean or Space Mountain, and work on his script while he's
funny.
waiting online. Then he rides the ride because it's always like you have to sort of, when you're a writer, you have to kind of trick yourself into like you're not really working, you know, or there's some kind of like reward at the end. For me,
Yes.
it's watching trailers. For this guy, it's like he gets to go on Space Mountain.
Yes.
Then he has to wait in line for an hour, and then he gets to go on Pirates of the Caribbean or whatever. And then there's a guy I know, a great writer I worked with a couple of times. His name is Steve Papoon. He used to do a thing where he lived way deep in the valley, like Chatsworth, like the North Valley.
Yeah.
And he would have his girlfriend drop him off in, like, let's say Beverly Hills, and then he would walk all the way to Chatsworth. It would be
What?
an all-day thing, right? He told me this. It would be an all-day thing, an all-day walk over the Sepulveda Boulevard, right, to get to get over the hill. I guess it was like that way. So it's like a 15 or 20 mile walk, which would take 7 or 8 hours. And all the while he was thinking, he had to write a script for whatever show he was on. He worked for Roseanne. He worked for a million different shows. But he would be thinking it through in his head.
Yeah.
So he'd write the script in his head as he was having this very long walk, and then he'd get home. By the time he got home, he had it all in his head, and he would sit down and write it out, and that's how he wrote.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I like the idea of writing for like a reward at the end. I think I need
Yeah.
to trick myself into
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with writing on an iPad as much, but what do you do with that? Is it legible? Like I'm just picturing
Yeah.
writing on like a credit card scanner when I sign my name and it just looks like a straight line.
My writing is pretty awful anyway, no matter what. But you learn to do it pretty good. But there's this
Okay.
thing called the Apple Pencil, which is like a little
Right.
white pen, and there's a really good app that's called Good Notes
Okay.
that a friend of mine showed me too. So like you can take a PDF and open it that way, and then so it's a script. Let's say it's a script that's already written, or if it's just like written down notes, then you can just write on it like that.
Gotcha.
And it's like you're writing on paper, but it
Gotcha.
doesn't turn into anything else.
Gotcha.
Yeah.